just to orient everybody, does this appear to be your dash cam?
Yes, sir.
Same dash cam you were looking at yesterday?
Yes.
Okay, let's go ahead and play it, Mr. Graves. And pause it. Officer Seraph, just like it's not an eye exam, it's not a hearing exam either. I'm going to do the best I can to raise the volume. And Officer Seraph, I want to focus your attention, if you wouldn't mind, on 9 seconds after you say what happened. Just count in your head and listen very, very carefully to the woman's voice that responds to what she says. Go ahead. Pause it. Very, very hard to hear. Have you listened to that before?
No.
Does it appear to you that she said, my boyfriend, I left him and he never came home?
I couldn't understand anything.
Okay. Let's replay it one more time. Turn the volume up one more time right at that moment. Listen for a woman's voice just under.
I'm not hearing what you're saying.
Sorry. I was asking Officer Seraph, please listen to, there's a din of noise, obviously, road noise, wind noise, etc. It's your dash cam, the audio from your dash cam. Once you close the door, listen very carefully, about 9 seconds after you say what happened, for a woman's voice, and see if you can make out what that voice says.
Sure.
Stop. Did you hear? I left him and he never came home.
I couldn't understand what they were saying.
You couldn't understand that?
No.
Do you want to hear it one more time?
No.
I don't think it.
No. Turn the lights on, please.
Now, if my client had said, my boyfriend, I left him and he never came home, would that be something that you would find important to put in your report?
Objection.
Sustained.
Let's move to another area of the dash cam video. I want to keep playing it at the 28-minute mark, 28-minute and 20-second mark or so.
So can I see counsel at sidebar for just a minute, please?
Do you recognize your dash cam video being on the left of the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you looked at Sergeant Good's dash cam video, which is squared up on the right side of the screen?
No.
You've never seen it?
No.
Okay. Does it appear to you that these are two different perspectives of the same scene? In other words, you see the car or the SUV on the left side of the screen right here, correct?
Yes, sir.
See that same SUV right there, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does that appear to be two different perspectives, two different angles?
Yes.
But basically the same thing?
Yes.
Okay. I want to draw your attention to the individuals to the left of the SUV right here. There's a person wearing a hood with fur on it. Is that Carrie Roberts? To your memory?
I don't know.
Okay. There appears to be another person with a darker jacket standing just in front of that person with the hood and fur. You see that person?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to focus on the person in the darker jacket.
Sure.
I believe, and the only reason I'm asking you to focus at this point is because I want to try to play this just once and see if you recognize what's depicted in the video.
Sure.
What I expect you may see is this person move out of sight behind the SUV, and then in the background, there's an SUV parked in the driveway. Pay special attention to that portion of the SUV and see if you see that person in the dark jacket pass from right to left in front of that SUV as if they're going to the house. Let's go ahead and play it. Go ahead and pause it. Have you seen the person in the dark jacket leave the view?
Yes.
Did she appear to go behind the SUV?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead and play it. Go ahead and stop track. And now I'm going to ask to draw your attention to that car with snow on it. Pay special attention to that car as the film continues to run. Go ahead. Pause. Do you see a person standing in front of the car?
It appears to be a person. Yes.
Walking from right to left?
Yes.
Would that be toward the house?
Yes, it would be.
Okay. And also, if you wouldn't mind switching your perspective, now you're looking more at the front of the house. Continue watching the film and see if you see that same person walking toward the house. Okay, stop. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see. Oh, yeah. Yes. I saw the shadow. Yes.
Right. Shadow of a person
Yes.
walking toward the front of the house. That was Jennifer McCabe going into the house, wasn't it?
I have no idea.
Was it a person going into the house?
It was a person. Yes.
Did you give anybody any permission to go into the house?
No, not my own.
Would you think that a witness in a homicide scene, we can go ahead and raise the lights, thank you. Would you think that a witness at a homicide scene being allowed to go into a house to make contact with other witnesses?
I didn't know it was a homicide scene, sir.
If I could finish my question. Do you think it's appropriate for a witness at a potential homicide scene, an unconscious person scene, whatever, crime scene,
Yes.
to make contact with other witnesses and begin discussing the situation unsupervised?
Can you rephrase that question, sir?
Do you think that's an appropriate thing to have happen?
I have no answer for that, sir. I don't know what you're asking.
Officer Seraph, when you go to a crime scene,
Yes, sir.
one of the first things that you'd want to do is secure the scene and separate witnesses so that interviews could be conducted, correct?
Sure.
You wouldn't want witnesses just cavorting together and getting their story straight, right?
Correct.
You'd want to avoid that at all costs,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And why is that?
So they can't collaborate their story.
Yet there was a person walking from the area where a body was found in the lawn of a house, walking into the house to make contact with other individuals, correct?
It appeared that way, yes, sir.
Does that seem appropriate to you?
No.
Of course not. We've talked a bit about what you did and didn't hear at the scene from my client. At any point when you were at that location, did you hear my client repeating the phrase, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him?
She said, I hit him? No, I didn't hear that.
You never heard her whisper it, yell it, say it, or otherwise?
Not that I recall.
If you had heard that statement, you likely would have written it down, wouldn't you?
Yes.
You likely would have reported that to Trooper Proctor the next day, wouldn't you?
Yes.
You likely would have mentioned it in your grand jury testimony, correct?
Yes.
And you did none of those things because you did not hear that statement, correct?
I did not hear that, no.
Sir, you were at 34 Fairview for more than an hour before you cleared the scene, right?
Yes, sir.
You were at the location of the body of John O'Keefe.
Yes.
In other words, you just didn't stay in your cruiser. You walked out to where John O'Keefe was.
No, I was in my cruiser at different times. I
Must have been a bad question.
okay.
You didn't just stay in your cruiser. At points, you got out of your cruiser, walked over, made contact with the women, and you were standing next to the body.
Yes.
And you were obviously looking around. You noticed some footprints,
Yes.
and you even noticed some lack of footprints.
That's correct.
So you were being observant at the area of the body
Yes.
and the area adjacent to the body.
Yes.
You were looking for anything that might have been out of place,
Yes.
anything of any evidentiary value, correct?
Yes.
You never saw or otherwise observed, located a single piece of taillight material, did you?
No.
You certainly didn't see 45 pieces of broken plastic or taillight material, did you?
No.
You never located or otherwise observed John O'Keefe's missing shoe
No.
or any other clothing of his.
I didn't. No.
Officer Sharaf, did you ever think to look inside the house
No.
for that missing shoe?
No.
That never crossed your mind?
No.
You think that might have been a smart thing to do at the time?
Objection, Your Honor.
Rephrase the question.
Sure. Do you think that would have been appropriate protocol when dealing with a body laying on a lawn that is partially unclothed to look inside the house of the lawn?
No.
You didn't think that would have been an appropriate protocol
No.
for you or anybody else?
No.
Obviously, you did not conduct a search of that house, did you?
Nope.
And you're aware that to this day, no law enforcement officer ever conducted a search of that house.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
Stuck in your double trouble. Defendant responded, "You're hot." I responded, "Are you serious or messing with me?" Defendant responded, "No, I'm serious." I responded, "Failing is mutual. Is that bad? How long have you thought that?" Defendant responded, "Are you okay driving? You don't want to stay here." I responded back, "I'm fine. I have an office at the PD." You didn't answer the question. And then it starts to say, defendant said, "Rather you stay here."
And is that, to your memory, when is that text exchange taking place? In reference to the night that you went over to the O'Keefe's house.
I believe it was that night.
Now, at Mr. O'Keefe's house on that particular evening, do you recall how you came into the house?
I believe it might have been the front door.
And if you know about how long were you at Mr. O'Keefe's house that night?
I was probably one of the last people to leave, I think.
And what, if anything, happened as you were exiting from Mr. O'Keefe's house that night?
So as I was exiting the house, it was either through the breezeway or the garage. And as we were walking out, the defendant planted a kiss on me.
Now, before you went out that way, where was Mr. O'Keefe? Did you say goodbye to him or anything like that?
I think I said goodbye to him. He might have been in the bathroom. I'm not 100% positive where he was.
And when you went to leave, which exit from the house were you headed to initially?
Well, as I said, I don't remember exactly if it was the breezeway or the garage I was starting to walk through, but whichever way I started to exit, the defendant told me to go a different way.
And which way did the defendant tell you to go?
Well, her way. I honestly can't tell you which door that was. If it was either the breezeway or the garage.
And as you were going out, again, I'm sorry, what happened?
The defendant kissed me,
And how did she kiss you?
not like a friend.
Lip to lip, is that fair to say?
Yes,
Like a romantic kiss.
that's the way I interpreted it.
And were you still inside the house at the time that this occurred, or were you outside the house if you know?
Not sure if we had just got to the outside or not. It might have. I'm not sure if it was close proximity to leaving.
And what was your reaction to that?
I was taken back.
Was that something that you were expecting?
No.
And about how long was it between when the defendant kissed you and when you left?
Oh, almost immediately.
Now, sir, if I could turn your attention back to the exhibit before you on page number 27.
Yes.
Again, sir, if you could read from that page and who's speaking.
So I'm in the blue bubbles, and I said, I think you're messing with me. The defendant said, why do you think that? I responded, because this is so out of left field. Where did these feelings come from? Defendant responded, I just think you're like me. I said, meaning? ? Defendant said, do you have your own kids? I said, I have no kids. How am I like you? ? Hello? And defendant responded, aren't we alike? I responded, I think so. So why did you get my number and reach out to me? And I think the defendant put a question mark on that bubble, I believe. Or I might have, I don't know.
Now, that conversation as far as you asking her about why she reached out to you, how often was that question asked by you through the course of these text communications?
Well, the extent of the actual communication via text between the defendant and I was between January 12th and January 29th when John passed. On the 28th and 29th, the 28th, I sent a text, as we spoke about before, when we were at the waterfall. That text didn't respond. There was a text sent by the defendant to me the next day. So in that time period between the 12th and the 29th, there was 9 days that the defendant and I exchanged text messages. With that being said, those text messages, I don't believe, were every day, consecutive days. There was 9 days in between the 12th and the 29th.
And so as far as that questioning, as far as posing to her, why did she reach out to you? Was that something that you asked once or more than once?
Yeah, I asked it more than once, and during the pendency of this communication, I was basically trying to suss out what the intentions were of the defendant. Was the defendant interested in me? Was she at the end of her relationship with John? Was she trying to weaponize me against John and put me in the middle? There was numerous things that were going on. And that's what I was trying to vet out or suss out, or whatever you want to call it. But I was having a hard time accepting what was happening.
Sir, if I could direct you to the next page, page 28. And again, sir, if you could read from that page.
So I'm in the blue bubbles. Shoot straight with me. Defendant responded, I told you, I just think we're alike, right? Couple question marks. I responded, yes, agree. Now what? Defendant responded, I don't know. I said, shouldn't you know? Defendant responded, do you like me? I said, yes, from jump. Defendant said, when was jump? I said, first time I saw you. Defendant responded, when was that? I said, Hillside for your shore.
If I could direct your attention to the next page, 29. If I could ask you to read from that, sir.
So again, I'm in the blue bubbles. Hillside for sure. When were you interested? Defendant responded, I don't know, you're just my type. I responded, you think you can handle me? I thought you were happy, ? Defendant responded, how do you know if I'm happy? I said, I just assumed. Defendant responded, are you hard to handle? I may have put a question mark. Then I said, what do you like about me? Defendant responded, I just feel like you're from my neighborhood. I said, yes, yeah, ditto. Defendant responded, and I think you're hot.
And if I could direct your attention to the next page, page 30. If I could ask you to read from that, sir.
I'm in the blue bubbles again. You really think that? I have always thought that about you. Defendant responded, what? I responded that you're hot, smart, witty, but I didn't think you were interested. Defendant responded, witty? I responded, yeah, meaning quick with a response. Tell me why you got my number and reached out to me. Defendant responded, just thought we were the same / from the same neighborhood. I responded, are you afraid to say what's on your mind? What's in your mind? And then I said, on. Defendant responded, no, didn't I? No, didn't I? Question mark.
And sir, if I could turn your attention, to the next page, 31, and ask you to read from that.
I'm glad I'm in the blue bubble again. I'm glad I stopped by. I should have come earlier. Do you really live in Mansfield? Defendant responded, yeah. I was basically begging you. I responded, you don't have to beg me. I meant to say beg. Defendant responded, huh? I said, I will give you what you want. How are you texting right now? And I said, leaving me hanging. Defendant responded, no. I typed kids and then kinda. Defendant responded, how am I texting? And I began to say, is everyone asleep?
As far as the communication from the defendant indicating, yeah, I was basically begging you, what did you take that to mean?
That she wanted me to come over?
And if I could turn your attention to the next page, 32. If I could ask you to read from that page as well.
So it starts off with the defendant saying, I just wide awake on my phone. Yes, they are. I responded, that would have been distracting. So now what? So no, what? And then I said, now. Defendant said, now what? Question mark. I responded, balls in your court. Defendant said, what do you want? I responded, loaded question. What do you want? Question mark. Defendant responded, I asked you, exclamation point. I in turn said, nope, you initiated this.
If I could turn your attention to the next page, 33. If I could ask you to read from that, sir.
I said, spit it out. I'm in the blue bubbles. Defendant said, hey, we're single and we don't have kids. We can do whatever we want. I responded, don't you have a boyfriend? Question mark. Defendant responded, where are you? Question mark. I said, Canton. Defendant said, where? Question mark. I responded, my office is at the PD. Why? Are you going to Mansfield? Question mark. Defendant responded, where is that? I said, Canton PD. Defendant said, I have a house there from before I reconnected W. John. I responded, oh, I feel like you're not really saying what's on your mind.
If I could turn your attention to the next page, 34, and ask you to read from that, sir.
Defendant starts off and says, do you like me? Question mark. I responded, yes, clearly. Defendant said, come over my house. I responded, when? Question mark. Defendant said, when works for you? I said, whoever, and then whenever, when works for you? Question mark. The defendant said, I asked you first. I responded, I think you're messing with me. Defendant said, I'm glad you came over tonight, with some type of face. I responded, me too, balls in your court. What do you want, Karen? You look great tonight.
If I could direct your attention to the next page, 35, and the last, or second to last blue bubble down the bottom, starting with, are you glad? Do you see that?
Page 35?
Yes.
And where is it again?
Second to last blue bubble, starting with, are you glad?
Yes. I said, I'm in the blue bubble. I said, are you glad you walked me out? Question mark.
And what did she respond?
Defendant said, yes, with like semicolon and some type of a mark there. Are you? Question mark. And I said DEF for definitely.
And if I could direct your attention to the next page, 36. And if you could, please read from that.
So at the top, I'm in the blue bubbles. It says yes. Then I said, are you going home tonight or tomorrow AM? Defendant texted, we kissed, comma, right? Question mark. So then I put a question mark on her question and said, is this a trick question? Defendant said, I don't know when I'm going home. I'm selling my house, with what I think is a smiley face. What a trick question, and a couple of question marks. I responded, are you moving to Canton? I'm following your lead with this. Defendant responded, I live here, but I have property in Enfield. I'm guessing it's Medfield. Defendant said, why my lead? I don't want any responsibility. I responded, you started this, right? Question mark. Why did you get my number? And it says each out to me. It meant to say reach out to me. I then said, still have not told me.
And sir, if I could direct your attention to the next page, 37, and ask you to read from that.
Defendant said, sorry, should I not have? I responded, I'm fine with it. Just don't know why you can't answer. Defendant said, you're mad at me? I said, OMG, no, not at all. You're being silly. Defendant said, I told you, exclamation point. I just think you're like me and I'm attracted to you. And then she said, a lot. I responded, feeling is mutual. I just never saw this coming. Defendant said, why? Question mark. I responded, because I just assumed you were happy with your situation. Defendant responded, I was, but things have deteriorated.
And if I could direct your attention to the next page, 38, and ask you to read from that, sir.
I said, why? Question mark. How so? Question mark. What did Melissa say when you asked for my number? Question mark. Defendant responded, it is very, very complicated. He and I dated when we were kids, and then his sister died and everything got fucked up. I responded, he seems very into you. Defendant responded, I just told Melissa that I had your number but lost it. I said, that's cute. She wasn't suspicious? Question mark. Defendant responded, no, she's great. I responded, does she know you like me? Question mark. Defendant responded, she's a sweetie. We just agreed you are great, with another smiley type face.
And sir, if I could direct your attention to page 40, and ask you to read from that.
Defendant said, yeah, but where is that? I have had all my shit here for a couple of years and my house has been vacant, but I'd like to get closer to the water. I responded, are you breaking up or staying together? Defendant responded, I don't know. He hooked up with another girl on vacation. I'm very close to his niece. It is a very fucked up situation. I responded, when was that and how did you find out he hooked up? Question mark. I don't want to complicate your situation. Defendant responded, we went away for New Year's, the four of us. I put the kids to bed and found him in the lobby of our hotel all over one of our friends. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I responded, it does matter.
Now, as far as that indication that she made to you, is it through text communications or in person? Did she indicate at any point in time where that occurred?
So there was an occasion that the defendant stopped at my house. And again, the conversation that took place at my house was in relation to, again, sussing out and trying to figure out if this was everything that I stated before. Like, was this legitimate? Was she seriously interested in me? Was she at the end of her relationship with John? Everything that I stated before. Like, was this legitimate? Was she seriously interested in me? Was she at the end of her relationship with John? And during that there was touch on that topic, and I became to realize, it was my understanding at that point that this incident took place in Aruba on New Year's Eve, based off the text messages and the conversation at my residence.
This was something that she brought up, not only in the text communications with you, but in person in communication with you as well.
Yes, I mean, outside of being over there for the game, there was only one time that the defendant and I ever interacted on a one-on-one basis.
If I could direct your attention to the next page, 41, and ask you to read from that.
So I'm in the blue bubbles, and I said, did they bang? Question mark. The defendant responded, does that matter? Question mark. I said, sorry, I was just asking. I was just trying to figure shit out. Defendant responded, it doesn't really matter. I said, okay, I won't ask again. Defendant said, I don't care, with a smiley face. It doesn't matter. I said, I responded back, okay, hear you loud and clear, Karen. Defendant responded, okay. I responded, why are you getting your thing all twisted up over simple questions? And then I typed thong. Defendant responded, I'm not. I am, question mark. I responded, you're kind of getting defensive. Defendant responded, not at all, with an exclamation point.
Thank you, sir. If I could direct your attention to page 46. Ask you to read from that.
Defendant is in gray. She said, we did kiss earlier, comma, no, with an exclamation point. I responded in blue bubble, I think you initiated that, no, question mark. Defendant said, yep. Do I owe you an apology? Question mark. I said, OMG, no. Why are you being sensitive? Defendant responded, I'm not. I responded, kinda. There's a P and a FFT, never, responded by the defendant. What do you want from me? Question mark. I responded, what's on the table? Question mark. Defendant said, what do you want ideally? Question mark. I responded, the real deal. Defendant responded, it doesn't exist. It starts off in blue. I said, I can go to any base, but usually Hanscom and Bedford are down to the Cape. Defendant responded, which base down the Cape? Which branch? I said, Army's Army. Defendant said, I'm not abnormally sensitive. I responded, Joint Base Cape Cod. I won't be so hard on you. Defendant responded, OMG, you're not. You called me trouble. That makes me sound bad. I responded, I was just playing with you. Defendant responded, you weren't, but that's okay. I responded, stop being sensitive, please. Defendant responded, I'm not.
Now, sir, in reference, in that page of text communications, you made reference to a base down the Cape, is that right?
Yes.
And where is that in relation to where you live in Barnstable County?
So I can utilize one of the gates to get onto the base. I can get fuel. I can shop. I then can hit the Bourne Bridge, and I would use that as a cut through at the time when I was splitting my time between two different properties.
Is there also like a duty-free shop there?
There is, yes.
And at some point throughout the course of the text communications, did you offer to pick something up for the defendant from that shop?
I believe so.
If I could direct your attention to page 60. And ask you to read from that, sir.
Defendant said, I don't know, question mark. It's in old colonial. It has a lot of bedrooms with kind of an emoji. I responded, more than you clearly need. Are you moving to Canton? Question mark. Defendant said, I know, seriously. Some rooms I only go into dust. Not anytime soon. I'm there most of the time, but sometimes it's a lot. I responded, a lot, why? Question mark. Defendant respond. I then said, do you even know what you want? Question mark. Or who? Question mark. Defendant responded, because I went from being solo to trying to give attention to kids who aren't mine, and I never wanted kids. I responded, I thought you were in this happy relationship. Defendant responded, everyone is happy at the hillside.
If I could direct your attention to the next page 61 and ask you to read from that.
So it starts off with the defendant. It said, everyone is happy at the hillside, exclamation point. I responded, oh God, you avoid things. Defendant responded, it's just very, very complicated dynamic with the four of us. He isn't cut out for what he's doing, and the kids present constant issues. I responded, I think he believes he is doing the right thing. Defendant responded, well, of course he is, but his heart isn't in it. It's only because he was very, very close to his sister. I responded back, I know how you feel, kinda. I was married, and when I met her, she had a 2.5-year-old. I went from being single to being a dad. It's hard. Then I said, I'm divorced since 2017 and have no kids.
If I could ask you to turn to the next page 62 and ask you to read from that, sir.
I said, I'm divorced since 2017 and I have no kids. Defendant responded, I try very hard, but they are very spoiled and they're not my family. My parents keep telling me I'd feel differently if they were mine or my own sisters. Then I told you he got drunk and sloppy on NYE while we were away, and that has really affected me. I responded, what did he exactly do? ? Defendant responded, I never got married, and now somehow I'm arguing someone about raising kids with an emoji. I responded, why don't you tell me? ? Defendant responded, he was a puddle all day and then disappeared. Then I found him all over our friend's sister in the lobby of our hotel, and she's gross, which I think may actually be worse. Not sure. I responded, oh God, did they bang?
And ask you to turn to the next page, sir, page 63, if you could read from that.
I'm in the blue. I said, did they bang? ? Defendant said, so I was the kids celebrating New Year's, I think it's without him, which shouldn't be my role. No, I doubt it. He was a mess. I said, was it the first time with her, or do you think there were others? Defendant responded, I don't really think there were others. I'm with him all the time. He never seems to want to go anywhere, without me. But honestly, the issues with the kids bother me more than him actually cheating. They are constant, and it feels like a lose-lose. I responded, You clearly have a lot of feelings swirling inside you. Defendant responded, yeah, it's very complicated. Sorry for the rant. I responded, or began to respond, you can vent, babe.
If I could turn your attention to the next page, 64, ask you to read from that, sir.
Defendant said, basically, I just feel like I spread myself too thin and sometimes it's thankless. I responded, Defendant responded, you probably felt that way too. I responded, I did at times. It was 1, not 2, thankfully. Defendant responded, want to grab a drink? ? I responded, if you gave me some notice, I could have. Defendant responded, you in capital letters said you were adaptable. I responded, I am, but I have my work truck with me and not my personal. Do you get angry when you don't get your way? Defendant responded, that sounds like an excuse. I rarely get my way.
Now, as far as her invitation, is that something that occurred on one time or more than one time?
I believe it was more than one time.
And at any point in time, other than the two you've already recounted, as far as going over to Mr. O'Keefe's house for the football game, or the defendant stopping by your apartment in West Roxbury, were there any other occasions you went out over the defendant's house or out with the defendant by yourself?
No, never.
And sir, if I could direct your attention to page 74. Ask you to read from that.
Defendant said, "Are you single?" Question mark. I responded, "Yes." Defendant said, "I don't think it's out of left field. Wasn't I already begging you to come over last Saturday?" Question mark, question mark. I responded, "You getting my number from Melissa and reaching out to me?" Question mark. Defendant said, "And on vacay and probably a few other occasions." I responded, "You didn't," it should say, "you didn't really beg." Defendant said, "I asked at least twice. How do people usually reach out to each other?" Question mark, question mark. I responded, "Why would I have thought you had any interest in me?" Question mark. Usually do it when they do live with, usually do it when they do live with someone. And then I said, "Do not do it." Defendant responded, "Maybe, maybe not."
Thank you, sir. If I could direct you to page 77. And ask you to read from that, sir.
I said, "I could go on, but I do not want to pump," it should say, "your shit up too much." Defendant responded, "Thanks for saying that, but low comps at the hillside." I responded, "You know how to ruin something nice. I frequent other places." The defendant responded, "John has showed me about 5 times the ring video of me walking you out on Saturday, and my voice and my accent are killing me softly," with an emoji of somebody throwing up. I responded, what?" Defendant responded, "Yeah, he has cameras everywhere, you cops," with another emoji. I responded, "Jesus." Defendant said, "He's like Christ. Are you guys hooking up?" Question mark, question mark. And I said, "OMG, great."
If I could turn your attention to the next page, 78, sir.
I responded, "I don't need drama, dude." Defendant said, "No, it's fine." I responded, "Seriously?" Defendant said, "I'm serious," with an exclamation point. I said, "You legit planted one on me." Defendant responded, "I know where the cameras are anyway, duh." And then it was OMG Bruins with an emoji after that. I responded, "So your slick move isn't on there?" with some question marks. Defendant responded, "Course not." I responded, "Oh my God." And then I said, "I almost," an emoji with somebody throwing up. Defendant responded, "It was a peck anyway. I kissed Kerry and Gay Jeff too." I responded, "Yeah, weak. I agree."
Now, as far as cameras at Mr. O'Keefe's house, is that something that you were aware was there prior to that conversation with the defendant?
No, not that I recall.
If I could turn your attention to the next page, 79. Ask you to read from that, sir.
Defendant said, "LOL, funny." I responded, "So now he is jealous of me?" Question mark. Defendant said, "No," with an exclamation. I told you, he likes you a lot. I said, "Which makes this worse?" Question mark. Defendant said, "You said or did something at the bar last week," and he goes, "I like Brian more and more." I responded, "I think he's a good dude too." Defendant responded, "Yeah, he is." I responded, "Funny. What's your end game? What do you want from me? You will just confuse it should say the shit out of yourself, because I'm a lot of fun."
Now, sir, the he that you're referring to in those text communications, who was that, just for clarity?
John O'Keefe.
And if I could direct your attention to page 84. And ask you to read from that page, sir.
I said, "It was fun." Defendant said, "I've complimented you today too," with a couple of exclamation points and then some type of emoji. I said, "And kicked my nuts in." Defendant said, "OMG, how?" I responded, "If I had more notice, I would have grabbed a drink somewhere, so I'm all set with that's," and then I said, quotations, that's fine, but I am not asking again. Defendant said, well, it was 7 p.m. and I'm super cool. So right now I'm asking again with some type of I think it's a smiley face. I responded, coming to your house would have been bad for the both of us. For starters, you wouldn't have wanted me to leave. The defendant responded, now equals not. That sounds good. I responded, that's trouble. Defendant said, why, question mark.
And if I could direct your attention to page 90. Ask you to read from that, sir.
9-0.
90, yes.
The defendant said, no, I'm busting your chops. It's okay. I responded, no, you are sensitive. Nice try. You don't think if I came over for a drink, we would have gotten carried away. Defendant said, you in capital letters said you were adaptable and tons of fun. I took that as an invite for an invite. And I responded, oh, okay. Defendant responded, I'm 42. I know what happens when you invite someone over for a drink. I responded, you're the master of avoidance, so you think I would just give it up. Defendant responded, I've been a lot in my life. I have a little bit of cop DM mindset, and then said, been through.
And if I could direct you to the next page, 91, sir.
Defendant said, what am I avoiding, question mark. I'm not afraid to be direct. I responded, some of my questions. Defendant responded, okay, which? Ask again. I said, nope, tricks are for kids. Defendant responded, I'm pretty sure we would have hooked up. I responded, okay. Defendant said, I can't say that, question mark. I said, of course you can. Defendant said, did I miss any other questions, sir, question mark. Probably, are you having a drink right now, question mark. Defendant said, yeah, on my second. I said, show me what you got.
And if I could direct your attention to page 99. And ask you to read from that, sir.
Defendant said, none of that is true, exclamation point. I'm not talking to other guys, and I have issues with John, and things are far from perfect. You just happen to know about him, BC, I guess, because we all hang out at the same bar. I'm sure you talk to other girls. That's what single people do. I'm not married, neither are you, neither is John. I responded, was that your attempt at a lecture or deductive reasoning, question mark? What do you want from me, question mark? Defendant said, that's just how I think / feel. You don't need to approve. I've already answered that last question a couple of times, I think. I responded, I'm not judging you, never have, never will. Defendant responded, you shouldn't. I don't know what your private life is about, nor is it my business.
Thank you, sir. If I could now direct you to page 102. And ask you to read from that.
Defendant said, my only, I'm assuming, point is that there's a difference between being married to someone and dating them, and we have no intention of ever getting married. The point of dating is not to get tied down. If you're not confident, you should be, in my mind anyway. The first two, but I don't care too much about the other girl. I responded, okay, so he is cool with you dating other people, question mark. Defendant responded, and I'm not happy per se, just realistic that there's cracks and it's far from perfect. I doubt it. If he's seeing someone else, I wouldn't want to know either way. He probably feels the same way, and you probably feel that way about whoever you hook up with. I think that's normal. I responded, okay. Defendant said, you don't agree with me, question mark, question mark.
If I could direct your attention to page 107. Ask you to read from that, sir.
Defendant said, at a bar, question mark. I responded, I wasn't suggesting anytime soon. I know you're with your friend. I meant my house. Probably after 8. Defendant said, probably after 8. I responded, okay, if you don't wanna, that's fine, no pressure. Defendant responded, I will a drink. Looks like I tabbed the bubble with a question mark. I then said, what do you drink? Question mark. Are you out now? Question mark. Defendant responded, sorry, I'll drink whiskey if that's what you're having. I responded, haha, send me a pic of you two.
Now, you had testified earlier about some occasion prior to the 28th when the defendant had come over your house in West Roxbury, correct?
Yes.
This page that you just read, as well as some of the successive pages after that, is that sort of arranging for that to occur after she goes out or leaves from a friend out in Boston?
I believe she was out with a friend that night in Boston, a female friend, yes.
And that evening when she came over your house, about how long was she there?
Not long.
And so what happened when she arrived, or what, if anything, did the two of you talk about?
It was kind of more of this. It was a kind of wasn't an interrogation. It was a face-to-face version of trying to suss out and vet, like, what is this all about? Again, I mean, you know, I'm not proud of these text messages. It is what it is. I'll take responsibility for them. But, you know, John was a friend at the same time. And I certainly wasn't, if they were at the end of the relationship, they were at the end of their relationship. But I wasn't going to have somebody utilize me and weaponize me against somebody that I liked. And it was just a weird experience. It was, I don't either think either one of us finished a drink. It was, like I said, it was this type of like, what is this all about? And then she left. I think I might have asked her to text me when she got in, so I knew she got home.
Now, that evening or at any other point, in your friendship or your relationship, whatever, however you want to term it, was there any other sort of intimate contact beyond what you described occurring as she walked you out that night you were over Mr. O'Keefe's house for the patrons?
Are you asking if she ever kissed me again?
I'm asking if there was any kissing, any sexual relationship, anything at all between yourself and the defendant.
Absolutely not. In referring to at my residence when she stopped by, it was just, I was very uncomfortable, and it was just an uncomfortable situation. Just a weird vibe. That's the best I can describe it.
And lastly, sir, lastly as it applies to this, turning your attention to the last page, number 118. And there's a couple different dates from the middle to the bottom of the page. Is that correct?
There is.
If I could ask you to start reading from, excuse me, where it says Sunday, January 23rd, 9:40 p.m.
Defendant, so Sunday, January 23rd at 9:40 p.m., defendant texted me, phone works, and then an emoji with arrows going like both ways. And I responded, thought you were all set, question mark. Defendant said, with talking, question mark? No. I said, are you sure? And she didn't respond, and I believe I said, that was it for that, the 23rd. I'm sorry.
So then the next date that any text communication was sent between the two of you would have been Friday, 11:32 p.m. Is that correct?
That's correct. That would have been when we were at the waterfall.
And again, what does the text say there?
Well.
That's from you to her, is that correct?
Yes.
And then the next text communication is the following day, or Saturday, the 29th at 11:54 a.m. Is that correct?
Yes.
And who is speaking in that communication, and what is said?
That is the defendant, and the defendant said John died.
And did you respond to that at all?
No.
And did you have any other communication with Ms. Reed following receiving that text message on January 29th?
No, I have not.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Gilman, you can take it. Sir, if I could, a couple more questions for you, taking you back on the early morning of January 29th, when you had come from Waterfall to Fairview and then you were leaving from Fairview, if I could turn that sort of portion into your mind. When you're pulling away from the residence, the period of time that you were talking about as far as the plow being down and scraping a little bit on the ground, you recall that?
I do.
About how much distance are we talking about with respect to that?
Distance less than a foot, I would say. I mean, it's real quick. I heard it.
And then as far as when you familiar with an area in the front of Mr. Albert's property at 34 Fairview where there is a flagpole and a fire hydrant?
I do know where that is, yes.
And as you drove by the house that evening, where were you in relation to that part of the yard?
When I drove away,
Yes.
well, I might have been I was in the street. I pulled away, so that area would be on my passenger side.
And I'm going to ask you to pay special attention to that wheel and any movement that you may or may not see. Pause it. Okay. In about the next 3 seconds, Sergeant, I'm going to ask you to pay special attention to the wheel. Go ahead. We can have the lights on. And you can take that down. Sergeant, were you able to see that video? I know it's not the clearest thing in the world. Were you able to see that video okay?
Yes, I
What
did.
did you notice about the rear wheel of the Traverse?
Based on the motion in the shot with the snow falling, it appears that there is movement, but the video speaks for itself.
What would you assess based on the movement of the rear wheel of the Traverse about whether or not the two vehicles came in contact with one another?
Objection.
Sustained.
Okay. May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
May I inquire?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm trying to use my time wisely, Your Honor. Yesterday, Sergeant, you were asked about a couple of videos related to the Sallyport garage. Do you have that in mind?
Yes.
Matter of fact, we watched one of them pretty specifically toward the end of the day yesterday. Did you actually, I want to talk about the one that is the clearer of the two, where you slip. You remember that one?
If you pull it up, I can.
I will in just a second.
Okay.
There was one where Mr. Lally paused it and you were slipping in front of the vehicle.
I don't recall myself slipping, no, but it was icy that day. So if there's documentation of me slipping, I might have happened.
Fair enough. I didn't mean anything by that other than that was a moment that I thought you might recall to differentiate the videos. It's Exhibit 446, but I don't think that's going to help you. All right, let's see if I can do this another way. Did you actually personally go to Canton PD to retrieve any or all of the videos of the Sallyport? You yourself?
I did go to Canton and collect already extracted video.
Okay.
but it was a portion of video surveillance. I didn't collect all of the video, so
When was the most recent time that you went to Canton to collect a portion of the video?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Did you review well, let me ask it this way. Did you collect the video that was sought on or about April 23rd or 24th of this year, meaning just a few weeks ago?
Did I collect it?
Correct.
I did not collect that video of April this year, no.
You're aware that the video that you saw yesterday was in fact collected after the trial started in April of 2024?
Objection.
Sustained.
Are you aware of when that video that we saw yesterday was collected?
Objection.
I am not aware.
Okay. Was yesterday the first time you'd seen that video?
No,
When had you seen that video previously?
a couple of weeks ago.
Okay. What were the circumstances in which you saw that video?
Objection.
Sustained.
You are unmuted.
May I?
Yes.
Thank you. Sergeant, did you have any meetings or communications with Mr. Lally in anticipation of your testimony?
Yes,
When was that?
it was about 2 weeks ago, and then last week, I believe.
And what was discussed? Generally.
Generally, we discussed the portions of the case that I would be presenting.
Did you write a report about your communications with Mr. Lally?
No, I did not.
Were you shown any of the videos that you've seen here in anticipation of your testimony?
Not during the first meeting. I did review a video during the second time.
Okay, and that video was that you did see the second time was the interior video of the Sally Port that we saw yesterday, correct?
I'm just trying to remember exactly what video I saw. I had reviewed videos outside of our meeting, so I don't remember exactly what video Mr. Lally showed me.
But you do recall seeing the video that you saw yesterday, the sort of clear one that has the crime scene tape being put up and all that. You have seen that one before,
Yes,
and that was with Mr. Lally, correct?
that is not correct because I do not recall when I saw that video or what video I saw with Mr. Lally.
I see. All right. I'd like to talk about that Exhibit 446 for a second, and then I'll show it to you. You indicated that the video, all the videos, everything that you saw yesterday was true and accurate, correct? Based on your memory of the events that were memorialized in the video?
The video captures events taking place in an accurate fashion, yes.
In an accurate fashion. All right, that's what I wanted to find out. And after you watched the video, I think you were asked by Mr. Lally, does the video show you or Trooper Proctor having access to or messing with in any way that right rear tail light in any fashion? And you said never.
I was asked if at any point Trooper Proctor and I had came into contact, I believe, or touched the vehicle and that portion of the vehicle, and I said never. We never touched the vehicle prior to it being properly processed with a search warrant.
And that was specifically his question was to, and your answer was to the right rear portion of the vehicle, right? That right rear tail light.
The right rear damaged taillight, correct.
Right. With the court's permission, I'd like to play a portion of Exhibit 446.
Okay.
Before we begin playing it, Mr. Bates, if you wouldn't mind, may I inquire, Your Honor, of the witness, just to lay a foundation? Sergeant, do you recognize this as being the video that we saw yesterday?
It does look accurate.
Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page. This is 446, just so you have it in mind if I reference that. Space, if you could play that. And I think it's runtime 120. Pause it. Do you recognize that as the video we saw yesterday?
Yes, I do.
Very briefly, if you could move to time of day, 5:37:05. Yes. With the court's permission, can we play at this point?
Yes.
All right, that shows the vehicle coming into the Sally Port, and we're looking at which side of the vehicle?
So that is the driver's side of the vehicle. What that video depicts is a mirror collection. Although mirrors are accurate representation of what you're seeing, it's just inverted. So that is the driver's side of the vehicle. I do not know why it is inverted, but that's the way it was presented, collected and presented from Canton Police.
Can you see a timestamp or a time and date stamp on the bottom of that? It's in blue.
I cannot know.
Okay. Does it appear that time and date stamp, if you can't read every letter on it, that is in correct order? In other words, that's not inverted.
I cannot read it, no.
All right, let's go ahead and play this for a second. Who is that just got out of the car?
I do not know. I think that's the tow truck driver. He would have the only access to the vehicle. We did not touch the vehicle.
Who's that on the left?
I missed that. I was looking down at the laser pointer. I do not know. I know for a fact I'm the gentleman that's wearing a dark olive drab state police baseball style hat, and Trooper Mike Proctor is wearing a winter hat.
Trooper Proctor's wearing what?
A winter hat.
Back that up. Just that was playing, and I didn't realize it was playing while you were talking. Stop. Move it from that. And stop. Yesterday, when you testified, you indicated that the two individuals in this scene were you and Trooper Proctor, correct?
That is not correct. There was two individuals in the rear of the vehicle I shined my light to. That was me and Trooper Proctor.
Do you see Trooper Proctor toward the back of the rear of the vehicle there?
I can't tell because of what the head is. I just know that Trooper Proctor was wearing a black hat.
Which the person in that in the video to the left, to the rear of the car, is wearing a black hat, correct?
I can't tell. I don't want to be locked into a statement where later on you show me that it's somebody else magically. I can't testify to that.
There's no magic about this. It's your testimony. I'm just asking you what you see.
I don't see that. No.
Let's go ahead and play at this point. Do you see the person toward the back of the vehicle walking toward the opposite side of the SUV?
I do.
What area does he appear to be going to?
It appears to be going towards the rear passenger side of the vehicle, although it does not appear so because the video is inverted, a mirror image. That's where he's going.
And Sergeant Buchnick, you testified for at least a half an hour about this video yesterday, correct?
I'm sorry, it was a long day. I don't know the timing of how long I testified.
You significantly testified about this video yesterday, did you not?
I testified about this video.
And you testified that it was true and accurate, correct?
Correct.
You testified that it was reflective of your observations of what was happening in that Sally Port that evening, correct?
I testified that this is a accurate scene and collection of video evidence from the Sally Port.
And as that truck sits in that Sally Port, just like this, it appears from all perspectives that what we're looking at is the passenger side of the car, and that right rear taillight is right there shining in our face, correct? From this perspective.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
From this perspective, from the perspective that the jurors are looking at,
Okay.
from all indications, that would appear to be the right side of the truck, the passenger side of the truck, and that taillight that you can see is the right rear taillight from this perspective, correct?
The way it presents itself, yes.
And yesterday, during the entirety of your questioning by Mr. Lally, not once did you mention that this video is actually completely inverted.
I did not know.
Mr. Lally didn't ask you if it was inverted, correct?
That's correct.
And if I hadn't gotten up here and begun questioning you, that would be left uncorrected, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
The person with the winter cap appears to walk directly to the what ultimately should be the right rear taillight of this car, correct?
That's the vicinity, yes. That's where he is. Yeah.
Pause it. I'd like you to pay attention to the right rear of this car. And I know we're completely backward, but it's the far corner of the car. Do you see a person's head there?
It appears as if someone's still there.
And that person is located at or near what portion of the car?
In real life or as it's depicted?
Is the person near in real life, near the right rear taillight of the car?
Yes.
Matter of fact, standing there, hovering around there, correct?
We don't know the distance that they are in proximity to the actual vehicle. We just know that they're behind the vehicle. That
Looks like it's pretty close, doesn't it, Sergeant?
Objection.
Sustained.
Does that look like he's in close proximity to the right rear taillight?
As I said, I can't tell how far away he is from the vehicle.
His head's right there, sir. You can't tell that he's right next to the right rear taillight?
Objection.
Sustained.
I want you to pay attention to what that person does as soon as the other person comes out from behind that car. So you see him moving. Stop it. Do you see that person move?
I saw movement in the frame, yes.
Right when the other person is in eyesight of the person toward the right rear, correct?
I mean, the video speaks for itself.
Yeah, it does.
No.
Objection, Your Honor.
The objection sustained. No commenting, Mr. Jackson. We've talked about that.
I'm going to ask Mr. Bates to back it up because there's one other issue I want you to pay attention to, if you can, right at this moment or right before this moment, and that is the timestamp. You can back it up maybe 10 seconds. Right about there. Don't play it yet. Instead of paying attention to the individuals, I'm going to ask you, can you see, may I approach the screen here?
Yes.
Can you see the timestamp at 5:37 and 37 seconds p.m.? Can you see that from where you're at?
No, I cannot.
Me neither. But I don't walk up to it. Let's play it for about 10 seconds. Pause it. Did you see another person just appear toward the rear end of the car?
There was a fog of some sorts. It did appear as if a person was actually in. There was two people back there, and two people walked away, or one person walked away.
The timestamp jumped to 5:38:01. Correct?
I cannot see the timestamp, sir.
Did it appear that there was an anomaly? There was a portion of that video that was deleted. Or it's missing. Not deleted, but just missing.
Objection.
Can you tell that? Does it appear that way to you, Sergeant?
No, Your Honor, I cannot tell what is happening with the video.
If you take a close look at there's a classic police car in that Sally Port, correct?
There's an antique vehicle there. Yes, yes.
If you take a close look at the trunk of that vehicle, see the word police?
Yes, I believe I can read that. Yes,
And it's backward, correct?
it is mirrored. Correct.
That's a good indication that this is an inverted video, right?
It appears that way. Yes.
And if we were to fast forward at 5:42, not another 20 seconds. There you go. Can we just play it at this point? Pause it. You see the Sally Port garage came down?
Yes,
You see a number on the garage?
I do.
Is that correct?
What is correct?
Does the number appear correct? How do you make it 4?
No, the number's in the mirror image. Yes.
I just wanted to make the point. Everything in this video is completely backward, correct?
It's not backwards. It's mirrored, reversed. You can look yourself in the mirror in the morning. You still see your own face. It's not backwards.
But my mirror image is not an accurate depiction of who I am. My
Jack.
actual physical appearance is who I am, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
A mirror image, Sergeant, is not an accurate video of this, is it?
Objection.
It's a mirror image by definition.
Sustained. Ask it differently, Mr. Jackson.
Your Honor, thank you. I don't think I need to. I would like to mark I have a, we can bring the lights up. Let's
Wait.
Do you recognize what's in those photographs?
Yes,
And what do you recognize those to be?
the defendant's vehicle.
And, may I approach?
Yes.
You want to call them up to seek to introduce them as the next two exhibits?
No objection, Your Honor, thank you.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, if I could publish the jury as well. Ms. McCabe, what's depicted in this photograph is the defendant Ms. Reed's vehicle, correct?
Correct.
And in sort of focus here is the right rear passenger side of that vehicle, correct?
Correct.
And the tail light, if you could, with the laser pointer, just direct the jury's attention to where you observe that. Now, ma'am, with respect to what's depicted in this photograph as far as any damage that you observed to this taillight area on the rear passenger side, is that consistent with what you observed in the driveway at One of Meadows Ave when the defendant was showing?
Correct, minus the snow, etc.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have the next exhibit. Again, you recognize what's depicted in this photograph?
Yes,
And this is essentially a closer image of that same rear passenger side taillight area, correct?
yes,
Again, what's depicted in this, is that consistent with what you observed minus sort of the caked in snow when you were in the driveway of Mr. O'Keefe's house on the morning of the 29th?
yes.
Gentlemen, you can take that down. And Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would ask to publish just a short portion of, actually, I'm sorry. If I could publish a portion of what's been marked as Exhibit 6, which is the ring camera from the driveway.
Okay.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have video number 154 from the driveway. Mr. McCabe, directing your attention up to the screen, what's been marked as Exhibit 6 or video from Exhibit 6. Do you recognize what's depicted in this video?
I do.
What do you recognize?
That's myself getting out of the car at Meadows Ave.
Is that essentially where you parked Ms. Reed's vehicle when you pulled in?
Yes,
If you could, just direct the jury's attention with the laser pointer as to where Ms. Reed's vehicle is that you parked and if you see Ms. Roberts' vehicle.
that is Miss Reed's, and that would be Miss Roberts.
And as far as the right garage door that you entered into the house, if you could direct the jury's attention to whereabouts that would, I know it's not on the video, but where would it be?
Walk straight.
Someone, if you could run this. Sorry. Mr. McCabe, what was depicted in that video, is that consistent with what you observed, the weather conditions to be around the time that you arrived at Mr. O'Keefe's house?
Yes,
And lastly, in this line, Your Honor, if I, with the court's permission, could publish just a very short portion of what's been marked as Exhibit 41. Gentlemen, if I could ask you to fast forward this to about 2 hours and 10 minutes. If you could play from there. Stop it there. And again, what's in this video, do you recognize that, Mr. Kidd?
yes, I do.
What do you recognize that?
That is John's house.
Ms. Gilman, if you could play from there. Now, what's depicted in this video, sort of the screen directly in front of you, do you recognize what that is?
Yes,
What do you recognize that?
John's driveway.
far as what, if anything, do you observe in John's driveway?
John's car and Karen's car.
And where, if you could, using the laser pointer, just direct your attention to where is the defendant's car and where is Mr. O'Keefe's?
Mr. O'Keefe's car and the defendant's.
And where do you observe the defendant's car to be? Is that essentially where you parked it at that time?
Yes.
May I have a moment? What do you recognize that to be?
That is the photograph I took of item 7-18. It is the exterior front.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have 9790, the next photograph. What's up on the screen is exhibit 191. You recognize that as well, Ms. Hartnett?
Yes, I do.
What do you recognize that to be?
That is the exterior rear of item 7-18.
And if I could have the next photograph, Ms. Gilman, 9791. Again, do you recognize what's up on the screen now is exhibit 192?
Yes, I do.
Can you explain the jury what that is?
That is the interior front of item 7-18.
And lastly, not lastly, for this purpose, photograph 9792. Again, do you recognize what's up on the screen is exhibit 193?
Yes, I do.
What do you recognize that to be?
That's the interior back of item 7-18.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have 9795. Again, Ms. Hartnett, do you recognize what's up on the screen as exhibit 194?
Yes, I do.
What do you recognize that to be?
That is the exterior front of item 7-18, and it also contains markers that I placed on the item to note areas of damage.
And the next photograph would be Ms. Gilman 9796. If you could zoom in on that one. Now, Ms. Hartnett, what we're looking at here, that's the right sleeve of the gray sweatshirt of item 7-18, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And so, starting with some of the 13 different areas that you labeled, this starts with 1, 2, 3, 4, and goes up through 9, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you, ma'am. Can I approach the witness again, Your Honor?
Yes.
Hartnett, showing you another series of photographs. Just ask if you could review those, look up when you finish. Ms. Hartnett, do you recognize what's depicted in those photographs?
Yes, I do.
Or what do you recognize those to be?
These are close-up photos of the areas of damage 1 through 5.
Can I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Come on, to introduce and admit as the next exhibits.
No objection, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Before we begin, Madam Court Reporter, Your Honor, if I may approach just to show the next series of photographs.
Okay.
It's 196 through 205.
Thank you.
And Your Honor, with the court's permission, if I could publish some of those photographs for the jury as well.
Yes.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph 9811. With respect to what's up on the screen, Ms. Hartnett, you recognize what's now been marked as Exhibit 196.
Yes,
What do you recognize that to be?
that is an area of damage that I noted as area 1 in my notes.
Is, Ms. Gilman, if I could have, photograph 9812, next one. Again, Ms. Hartnett, you recognize what's up on the screen as Exhibit 197.
Yes, I do.
And with respect to this, what are you doing here?
That is a close-up photo of the same area of damage, area 1.
That has some measurement that you're taking with reference to the size of that damage, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And did you do that respectively with each of the respective areas that you noted on each of the garments that you examined?
Yes, I did.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph 9813. Again, this is area 2, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph 9815. Again, what's up on the screen is Exhibit 200. Recognize this as what now?
That's a photograph of the area 3 that I noted.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have 9817. Now, with respect to what's now been marked as Exhibit 202, do you recognize that as well?
Yes, I do.
And is that the number 4 area that you noted on the right arm sleeve of the gray sweatshirt of Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes, that's correct.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph 9819. What's up on the screen is Exhibit 204. Do you recognize that as well?
Yes, I do.
And again, what is depicted in Exhibit 204?
That's the area of damage number 5 that I had in my notes.
May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
The photographs that I placed before you while the stenographer was marking the prior exhibits, do you recognize what's depicted in those?
Yes, I do.
And can you describe for the jury, sort of generally speaking, what's depicted in those, ma'am?
These are close-up photos of areas 6 through 11 that I noted on the long sleeve gray shirt.
And may I approach this retrieve, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your Honor, the Commonwealth seek to introduce as the next exhibits.
No objection.
And if I may approach the witness just to present another set.
Okay.
Exhibits 206 through 217.
Thank you.
So, Ms. Hartnett, what's contained in these photographs now been marked as exhibits 206 through 217. Those essentially sort of the same close-ups and then a close-up with the measurement that the jury just saw in regard to what you had marked as 1 through 5.
Yes, that's correct.
And this is just 6 through 11 on that same area in the right sleeve of Mr. O'Keefe's sweatshirt.
Yes, that's correct.
Now, with regard to the photos that I just placed before you a moment before, do you recognize what's depicted in those?
Yes, I do.
And what do you recognize those to be?
These are the areas of damage 12 and 13 on the rear of the sweatshirt.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Come up and introduce in a minute.
Two 18 through 221.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, may I publish these photographs for the jury?
Yes.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph 9837. And Ms. Harden, do you recognize what's up on the screen as Exhibit 218?
Yes, I do.
What do you recognize that to be?
That's the exterior back of the gray sweatshirt.
And the items marked that you labeled as 12 and 13, are they depicted on that?
Yes, they are.
If you could, using a laser pointer, just draw the jury's attention to where 12 and 13 are.
Is it possible to zoom in on the numbers? I can't read them from here. So there's area 2 and area 12 and area 13.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph 9838. Exhibit 219 up on the screen, that's just a closer image of those areas you marked as 12 and 13. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Now, with respect to the other photographs that I had placed before you when the stenographer was marking those, do you recognize in general terms what's depicted in those?
Yes, I do.
And what do you recognize those to be?
These are additional pictures of the sweatshirt in which I've also made some notations of areas that need further testing.